Okay, welcome to the summary of the third turn of 1941. These were the two cards that were in play. There were a couple of attacks. The Germans, trying to keep the pressure on England, attacked the English Channel. They didn't manage to actually beat the British forces there, but they did actually inflict quite a few casualties on them. In fact, all the naval battles initiated by the Axis went relatively well, but not well enough to actually defeat the Allies, which of course they do need because the Soviets are not basically, they are actually at full strength. They still do have a force pool with units, but those are not going to be available until at least 1942, and some of them not until 1943. They don't actually even have anything left to build up. I'll get back on that later. As I said, one attack was over here in the English Channel, which went pretty well. The Allies suffered far more casualties than the Germans did, but not enough. They also conquered Hungary, because basically they were a pain in the butt, the Hungarian forces. The Hungarian forces in Debrecen actually joined the fight for Budapest on round two, which cost the Allies one command. But by then the Germans had already defeated the forces in Budapest, so they had actually become the defenders, and basically the reinforcements were slaughtered. But okay, Hungary's taken, and it's especially important because it disrupts, the Eastern Front's possible supplies to the Romanians and Bulgarians once and if they should get cut off from their own supply in their home country if they ever leave it. So that was one of the things, and they now have you barely see it, but there's a resource point here as well, the Balaton resource point. There was a battle in the Gulf of Sirte initiated by the Italians, and it actually went pretty well. Again, the same thing as in the English Channel. They inflicted far more casualties on the Allies, which were actually forced to withdraw. Well, not withdraw, but since they did win, but they were kind of forced to retreat back to their harbors so as to build up again, because their force had been entirely depleted. So, as you may see, the Italians actually retreated from Libya because they were afraid they were going to be cut off from supply, and then they would die anyway because of supply attrition. So they actually voluntarily left. So I wonder if Mussolini would have done that. But okay, so they managed to fight another day, and they are now located in the south of Italy. So the British Eighth Army actually advanced into Libya. Once all of Libya is taken, as well as one area adjacent to Rome, or I suppose Rome itself, is taken, then the Italians will surrender. But okay, that hasn't happened yet, but it does look like the fight for the Mediterranean is lost for the Italians. They shouldn't have lost their battleship when they did. So I suppose that were most of the attacks. The Allies spent their command on one strat move for the Russians. In fact, through diplomacy, Finland decided to join the Soviets. But they didn't know that by that time, and they actually gathered some forces around the borders so as to also, to take it by force if they hadn't actually agreed to joining the Soviet cause. It was made a bit easier by the fact that the Germans actually tried to get the Finns to join them, but they refused. So for the fact of proximity, for the fact of a rebuff, all those things combined, whatever the number was that they had to roll, they rolled exactly it, and they joined the Soviets. What else happened? The Americans, of course, built up a little bit. Convoy steps are up to 3 now. The British actually need them because they had another factory destroyed in Newcastle or in Birmingham, whatever you want to call that area. So that's basically what happened. As I said, the Russians don't have anything left to build. Yeah, because they have already. Well, what I did is I in fact built three more factories. I have no clue what the use of that is, but okay, I still had the points, so I thought, what the heck, and I just built them. But yeah, as you can see at the moment, the Russians have far more factories than they do resources, so it's actually not much use to build any additional factories. But okay, it would be a shame to let all that beautiful money, or PPs, or whatever you want to call it, go to waste. Yeah, so the Germans built up. Um, they actually built some new forces as well, even though they're on step one at least. It looks more impressive, and maybe they will be able to deter certain attacks by their enemies, because it may look as if they have lots of strength, whereas they don't. Um, and they built out their fleets again and their air force, but most of their resources actually went into building some additional units from the force pool. There was one more thing I wanted to say. Oh yeah, I'd been attacking Malta with the dive bomber, but in fact this is not allowed, as the dive bomber only has a movement range of one, and obviously when you go from Sicily to Malta, it takes 2 movement points. I do know that many people actually house rule the dive bomber such that it does have 2 movement points, which in a way of course makes sense because well, I don't know. The distance isn't very far, and in that way you would also be able to support a possible invasion of England. But it can be argued either way, because they weren't terribly effective historically in the Battle of Britain, also because of the fact that they were very slow and everything, but also because they had limited reach, as far as I know. Okay, so this concludes the third turn of 1941. I hope you enjoyed.